The warning. The message appeared on every screen across the planet simultaneously. No warning, no preamble, just 5 words that changed humanity forever. Earth must be sealed OFF immediately. The text flashed in every language, on every device capable of displaying information, from Times Square billboards to smartphones in remote villages, from military command centers to elementary school tablets. For 12 seconds, nothing else existed in the digital realm of Earth. And then it was gone. Dr. Elena Reyes was in the middle of calibrating the quantum resonance detector at Atacama Large Observatory when it happened. Her coffee mug slipped from her fingers, shattering on the polished floor. Nobody moved to clean it up. Every eye in the facility was locked on screens displaying the same message. "Run diagnostics," she ordered, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. "Check for system intrusions." Her colleague, Dr. Marcos Vega, typed frantically at his terminal. "It's not just us, Elena. It's everywhere. Global reports coming in. Same message, same time, every screen." Elena pushed her dark hair back from her face, mind racing. "Origin? Unknown," Marcos replied, then paused as new data streamed across his monitor. "Wait, we're detecting massive energy signatures at the edge of our solar system. Multiple objects, just beyond Neptune's orbit." The objects had appeared without warning, somehow evading all detection until they chose to be seen. Each vessel measured kilometers across, a fleet of 27 ships arranged in a perfect geodesic pattern around Earth's solar system. Across the globe, panic spread like wildfire. In major cities, people rushed stores, clearing shelves of supplies. Religious gatherings swelled as many sought spiritual answers. Military forces worldwide went on high alert, though everyone understood the futility of resistance against beings who could cross interstellar space. 3 days after the initial message, Elena made a discovery. "Look at this," she told her hastily assembled team, pointing to patterns on her screen. "The message contains subharmonic frequencies. There's more data embedded in the carrier wave than just the translation." Marcos leaned over her shoulder. "What does it mean?" "I don't know yet." Elena frowned, studying the complex waveforms. "But their syntax, there's something hesitant about it, almost reluctant. It's like when you have to deliver bad news, but don't want to." The following day, Elena was summoned to a military facility outside Santiago. The room was filled with government officials and officers from multiple nations, their faces drawn with exhaustion. At the head of the table sat Colonel Diana Trent, her silver-streaked hair pulled into a tight bun, her expression unreadable. "Dr. Reyes," she nodded, "I understand you found something in the alien message." Elena explained her findings to the silent room. "They're not telling us everything," she concluded. "There's more to this ultimatum than simple containment." Colonel Trent studied her for a long moment. "Do you believe these aliens intend to attack?" "I don't know," Elena admitted. "But if they wanted to destroy us, why announce themselves? They have the technology to cross interstellar space. They could have wiped us out without warning." The colonel nodded slowly. "Valid point." By the end of the meeting, a special task force had been formed. Elena would lead the communication efforts. Colonel Trent would coordinate any potential military response. They also recruited Dr. Akira Tanaka, a brilliant theoretical physicist whose research into quantum entanglement had been dismissed by many peers as too speculative. Their first meeting took place in an underground facility beneath the Andes Mountains. "The vessels haven't moved," Colonel Trent reported, gesturing to a holographic display. "They remain in position, creating a perfect sphere around our solar system." Akira studied the projection with fascination. "They've positioned themselves at precisely calculated intervals. This isn't just a blockade. It's the framework for something bigger." Elena shared her latest findings. "I've isolated part of the hidden data stream. It contains mathematical sequences, prime numbers, the value of pi, physical constants. It's a foundation for more complex communication." "Can you respond using the same method?" asked Colonel Trent. Elena nodded. "I've prepared a message indicating our desire for dialogue. Whether they'll respond is another matter." Outside their secure facility, the world held its breath. Stock markets crashed. Religious leaders proclaimed everything from the end times to the dawn of a new age. Scientists debated what technology could create such massive ships. And everywhere, people asked the same question: why us? Why now? 2 weeks after the initial contact, one of the alien vessels broke formation and moved closer to Earth, stopping just beyond the Moon's orbit. It sent a new message, directed specifically to Elena's team. "We are DEECOLECTIV, a union of civilizations who maintain order among the stars. Your containment is necessary, but Rory Jury Tavil. We recognize your right to understand." Elena worked through the night with her team, preparing a response. They asked direct questions. Why was Earth considered dangerous? How long would the containment last? What was their purpose? The answer came swiftly. "A representative, what will explain? Prepare for CONTAT." 3 days later, in a heavily guarded field in the Chilean highlands, Elena, Akira, and Colonel Trent waited as a small craft descended from the larger vessel. It landed silently, a sleek object that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. A door appeared in its seamless surface. Elena's heart pounded as a figure emerged, humanoid but clearly not human, with iridescent purple skin and eyes that reflected light like mirrors. It stood nearly 7 feet tall, its movements fluid and precise. "I am emissary," it said, its voice resonating not through air but directly in their minds. "I come to explain why Earth frightens the cosmos." The alien's words left the humans momentarily speechless. Colonel Trent recovered first, her military training asserting itself. "What exactly about us frightens you?" she asked, her tone measured but firm. The emissary's reflective eyes seemed to take in all 3 humans at once. "Not you specifically. What you represent. What you could unleash." Elena stepped forward. "We have no weapons capable of threatening interstellar civilizations. Our technology is primitive compared to yours." "It is not your technology that concerns us," the emissary replied. "It is what you are." Before further explanation could be given, the air around them shimmered. A faint pearlescent glow spread across the sky, extending upward and outward until it enveloped the entire planet. The containment had begun. In the days that followed, the effects of the barrier became apparent. Satellites attempting to pass through simply disappeared. Radio signals bounced back. The International Space Station reported the barrier extended beyond their orbit, but they remained unharmed inside it. "We appear to be inside a bubble," Commander Rodriguez reported from the ISS. "It's like someone put Earth in a giant snow globe." The effects rippled through modern life. GPS signals became unreliable. Satellite communications faltered. Weather forecasting became guesswork without full satellite coverage. Internet services slowed dramatically. In her makeshift laboratory beneath the Andean military base, Elena hadn't slept in days. Screens surrounded her, displaying data from the barrier and translations of continued messages from the alien fleet. Akira worked beside her, his normally precise appearance now disheveled from lack of sleep. "I've been comparing these patterns," he said, pulling up 2 images on the main screen. "This is the electrical pattern of human brain activity during creative problem solving, and this is the pattern in the alien transmissions." Elena leaned forward, studying the images. "They're similar." "More than similar," Akira replied. "They're inversely related. It's like their communication technology is specifically designed to interact with consciousness patterns opposite to humans." Elena felt a chill run down her spine. "Are you saying their technology is designed to interact with minds, or to block certain types of mind patterns?" Akira pointed to specific waves in the human brain scan. "This neural pattern only appears in humans during our most creative moments, when we make intuitive leaps or solve problems in unique ways. Over the next few days, their theory took shape. What made humans dangerous wasn't technology or aggression. It was how human brains worked. Something in human neural patterns created ripples in reality that frightened the collective. It's like we broadcast on a frequency they consider dangerous, Alina explained during their report to Colonel Trent. Our creativity, our ability to make mental leaps, it's unique in their experience. The Colonel considered this, so they trapped us here because they don't like how we think. It's more complicated, Akira said. The emissary mentioned cosmic order. I think our thought patterns might create disturbances in something fundamental they're trying to maintain. Meanwhile, in another section of the facility, technicians worked around the clock on a project known only to a select few. Operation Breakthrough, a desperate plan to pierce the barrier. The prototype sat in a reinforced hangar, a sleek craft bristling with experimental technology. 2 weeks after the barrier appeared, Colonel Trent called Alina and Akira to witness a test. A small drone was launched toward the barrier. As it approached, it emitted a specific frequency that Akira had calculated might disrupt the barrier's energy pattern. The drone hit the barrier and disintegrated. Back to the drawing board, the Colonel said grimly. That evening, in the facility's small dining area, Alina confronted Trent. I know about Operation Breakthrough. You're planning to send people through the barrier. The Colonel's face remained impassive. We need options. We need answers first, Alina insisted. The emissary was willing to talk. We should exhaust diplomatic channels before risking lives. And doing nothing could mean extinction, Trent countered. The barrier is affecting our technology, our weather systems. Long term, we can't survive like this. So we prepare for both possibilities, Alina suggested. I keep working on communication while you develop Breakthrough as a last resort. The Colonel studied her for a long moment before nodding. Agreed. But we're working against time. People are scared. Governments are under pressure. If we don't get answers soon, someone will do something desperate. That night, Alina returned to her quarters and found a message waiting on her secure terminal. Just 3 words. We are Elias Dienang. The Awakening. Alina quickly contacted Akira, and together they crafted a careful response. We seek to understand. We wish no harm. The reply came immediately. Your mind is RETE harm. Your thou Jesus reach where they should not. Yet some believe you may be necessary. Necessary for what? Alina whispered to the screen. As if in answer, the terminal displayed one final message. FOR288 COM is through GTE dark. Alina realized then that Earth wasn't just being quarantined, it was being hidden. And the question wasn't just why humans were dangerous, but what dangerous thing might be drawn to them. For 3 weeks, Alina broadcast carefully modified signals into space. Each day she made small adjustments based on what they had learned about the alien communication patterns. Each day brought silence in return. The world outside their facility grew more desperate. The barrier remained a constant reminder of humanity's new prison. Food riots broke out in some cities. Religious groups claimed it was divine punishment. Scientists worked frantically to adapt technologies to work without satellite support. Alina slept little, often dozing at her workstation. One night, as she drifted in and out of sleep, her equipment beeped. She jolted awake, nearly knocking over her cold coffee. The screen showed an incoming transmission, but it was different from the official collective messages. The pattern was simpler, less structured. Something's coming through, she said to the empty room, quickly activating the recording systems. The message was brief and used a simplified version of the collective's communication protocol. Not OFSIL. Danger in open speech. Will see again. Alina immediately reported this to Colonel Trent, who doubled the security around the communication center. It could be a trap, she warned. Or it could be our first real chance at answers, Elena countered. 2 days later, the mysterious sender contacted them again. This time, the message was longer and included a new encryption method. Working through the night, Elena and Akira managed to decode it. I am saying TNEL of DHELUNMINAR, member species of DHELDC. What ISHARE is forbidden, hate and OWLEGH. The High Council would punish this during HH, but so many of us believe you deserve truth. Elena carefully composed a response. We seek only understanding. Why are we quarantined? The answer came the following night. No TF for the reason, you believe. The barrier is not primarily to contain you. For 2 weeks, they maintained this secret dialogue. The alien, who called itself Sentinel, shared information in small pieces, always carefully encoded. On a stormy Monday morning, Elena called an emergency meeting with Akira and Colonel Trent in the most secure room of the facility. I've learned the truth, she said, her face pale from lack of sleep. And it's worse than we imagined. She played a recording of her latest translation. The collective fears your minds not as a threat to us, but because of what your unique cognitive abilities might attract. What does that mean? Colonel Trent asked, her usual calm demeanor showing cracks of concern. According to Sentinel, humans think differently from any species they've encountered, Elena explained. Our neural patterns create ripples in what they call the cosmic substrate, like waves in a pond. More like a beacon, Akira said. Sentinel says these thought patterns make us detectable to something they fear. He hesitated before continuing. They call it the Void, an ancient cosmic entity that consumes civilizations drawn to its influence. The room fell silent as the implication sank in. Are they saying our thoughts could attract this thing? Colonel Trent finally asked. Elena nodded. And somehow our brains are tuned to its frequency. They don't understand why or how. No other species has this pattern. Akira pulled out his tablet and began rapidly typing calculations. This changes everything we thought about the barrier, he muttered. For days, Akira worked nonstop, analyzing the barrier's energy patterns with this new information. He barely ate or slept, emerging from his lab only when he had reached his conclusion. The barrier isn't designed just to keep us in, he announced, showing them his findings. Its energy pattern is bifurcated. It works in 2 directions. It's keeping something else out. He displayed a simulation on the main screen. See these energy flows. They're strongest on the outer edge of the barrier, not the inner edge. The primary function isn't containment, it's protection. Colonel Trent stood up and walked to the window, looking at the shimmering barrier visible high in the atmosphere. So we're not being imprisoned, she said slowly. We're being hidden. Yes and no, Elena replied. According to Sentinel, the collective is divided on how to handle Earth. Some factions want us completely isolated or even eliminated because they fear our thought patterns will attract the Void. Others see potential value in our unique cognition. Value for what? Asked the Colonel. That's what's unclear, Elena admitted. Sentinel hints that the Void has been a threat to the collective for millennia. They'd lost entire civilizations to it. They've been fighting a losing war against something they barely understand. Akira looked up from his calculations and somehow were connected to it. Over the next few days, Sentinel shared more disturbing details. The Void wasn't simply of destructive force. It was intelligent, patient, and growing stronger. The collective had managed only to slow its advance, never to stop it. But most shocking was the revelation about human consciousness. The Void seeks minds like yours, Sentinel's message explained. But what draws it to you may also be its weakness. Your species' unique neural patterns resonate with the Void's own frequency. You can perceive it in ways we cannot. Are they saying we could help them fight this thing? Colonel Trent asked during their nightly briefing. Some of them believe so, Elena replied. Others fear us more than the Void itself. That's why they've hidden us away. But if the void is drawn to human consciousness, Akira began. Then the barrier might not hold it forever, Elena finished. That night, an urgent message arrived from Sentinel. The void apiro ichis. It CNCs you despite our efforts to repair. Within hours, instruments across Earth detected strange disturbances at the edge of the solar system. The barrier began to flicker, its pearlescent glow pulsing with unknown energies. In their underground facility, alarms blared as readings spiked off the charts. Something's interacting with the barrier, Akira reported, his fingers flying across the keyboard. Energy signatures unlike anything I've seen before. Outside, the sky darkened as if a solar eclipse had begun. But instead of the moon blocking the sun, a vast shadow seemed to fall across the stars themselves. It's here, Elena whispered. The main communication screen flickered to life, showing the emissary. Its reflective eyes now showed evidence of emotion. Fear. The void has found you despite our precautions, it said. Our barrier cannot hold indefinitely. You must prepare. Prepare how? Colonel Trent demanded. You've kept us isolated. We have no defenses against something like this. Not weapons, the emissary replied. Minds. What draws the void to you may be your only defense against it. As if in response to the emissary's words, humans worldwide began reporting strange dreams. Visions of stars being extinguished, of worlds falling into darkness, of an ancient hunger that consumed without end. But unlike the paralysis of fear that had gripped other species, humanity responded differently. Artists began creating works depicting the void, not as an incomprehensible horror, but as a force that could be understood, even if not fully. Scientists proposed theories about its nature, drawing on concepts from quantum physics to psychology. Children invented games where the void was not an invincible monster, but a challenge to be overcome. In the facility's main laboratory, Elena made a breakthrough. The dreams people are reporting, she told Akira and Colonel Trent. They're not random. They form patterns, like pieces of a puzzle distributed across millions of minds. Distributed processing, Akira murmured, as if our collective consciousness is being used to solve a problem, or to perceive something too vast for any single mind to comprehend, Elena added. Colonel Trent looked skeptical. You're saying the void is communicating with us? Not exactly, Elena said, but our minds are interacting with it in ways the collective can't. We're not just detecting it, we're beginning to understand it. That night, Elena addressed the world through an emergency broadcast. She explained what they had learned about the void, about the true purpose of the barrier, and about humanity's unexpected role. The very quality that makes us dangerous, our unique way of thinking, may be our greatest strength, she told billions of watching eyes. We're not being hunted, we're being tested. As the void pressed against the barrier, something unexpected happened. Instead of collapsing under the pressure, the barrier began to transform, its energies shifting, reconfiguring. In the command center, Akira stared at his readings in disbelief. The barrier is integrating human thought patterns. It's evolving. On screens worldwide, the emissary appeared again, its reflective eyes wide with what might have been wonder. This is unprecedented, it said. You are not merely resisting the void. You are changing it. Civilizations across 20,000 years have only fled or fallen. You are the first to stand. Outside, the darkness pressing against the barrier began to shift. Where before it had been an impenetrable shadow, now patterns emerged within it. Complex, beautiful, terrible. It's responding to us, Elena realized. Not just to our fear, but to our understanding, to our creativity. For 7 days, Earth stood suspended between light and dark as humanity collectively focused on the void, not hiding from it, but reaching toward it with their minds. Artists created. Scientists theorized. Children dreamed. And something changed. On the 8th day, the darkness receded. Not vanquished, but transformed. Still vast and ancient, but no longer blindly consuming. In the aftermath, the fleet of the collective approached Earth once more. The barrier thinned, but did not disappear entirely. The emissary stood before the United Nations, addressing representatives from every nation. "We came to contain what we feared," it said. "We remain to learn from what we now respect. Your species has accomplished what ours could not in millennia of trying. You have communicated with the void itself. What happens now?" asked the Secretary General. "Now," the emissary replied, "you join the stars not as prisoners or as threats, but as teachers. The barrier remains, but as a boundary, not a cage. You have earned your place among the cosmos." As the emissary spoke, Alina stood at a window, looking at the night sky, where stars once again shone clearly. The barrier still shimmered faintly at the edge of perception, a reminder of what had nearly been and what might still come. Humanity had faced cosmic fear and emerged not just survivors, but awakened. The universe would never be the same, and neither would they.